Mental life of an alcoholic. What is it like having disturbing thoughts, even as a functional, quote unquote, functional alcoholic? What do these thoughts do? How do we get rid of them? What are they like? What is an average day like for an alcoholic? We're going to answer those questions today and talk to you about exactly what it means to have these thoughts. Does it mean you're a bad person? If you think bad things, are you a bad person? If you think random things, are you a random person? What if you think thoughts that are against the Bible? God forbid that. Or what if you think thoughts that are mean towards other people? Does that mean you're...
Oh, is that you again? Oh, is that you again? Can you hear me now?
All right,
Hello?
let's try that again.
You got me here, right?
Yeah, I hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. We going on the same live?
Yeah. All right, so today, hopefully you caught the intro there. I don't know where it cut out, but it cut out somewhere. Today we're talking about intrusive thoughts, OCD thoughts, alcohol, and how they all merge together. Back when I was first trying to get sober, I remember thinking I was a bad person. I would think thoughts like, oh, hey, you know what? That person could trip, or I could do this, or I could do that. And I remember thinking that I was a bad person. And I went to therapy, and I went to counselors, and I even went to psychiatrists, and nobody gave me the right answer. I had people that told me, hey, you know what? You're not a bad person. And I was like, but you don't know what my thoughts are like. And then I tell them my thoughts, waiting for them to tell me I was a bad person. And again, they would say, well, you're not a bad person. There's nothing wrong with you. But I knew deep down there was something wrong with me. And today we're going to talk about what that is. And maybe you're struggling. Maybe you think, hey, there's something wrong with me. I can't quit drinking. I can't do these things. I can't get past these thoughts. And I think bad things quite a bit, more than I'd like to. And it's really damaging to my brain. It's damaging to the thought life I have. It's damaging to my ego. It's just wreaking havoc on my life. So today we're going to talk about what that's like for the alcoholic, going through the mental anguish, going through those disturbing thoughts, having those thoughts that just creep in and you say, hey, what the heck is going on? And I remember having these thoughts very, very minutely before I became an alcoholic. I remember sitting in church and I'd be like, why am I thinking about that in God's house? What is wrong with me? There's got to be something wrong with me. All these other people are praising the Lord. I'm thinking about weird stuff. And so the thought process kept going and going and going. And as I started to drink, it got much, much worse. And that's what we're going to talk about today is intrusive thoughts. And if you have intrusive thoughts, if you have disturbing thoughts, and you just can't seem to shake them, this is the place to be. Let us know in the comments, and we're going to dive right in. Terry, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. I don't have too many disturbing or intrusive thoughts now, but I certainly did. Well, I mean, I think we all have a little bit of intrusive thoughts, definitely, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe a lot, but it definitely doesn't control my life like it used to when I was drinking.
Mm-hmm.
When I was drinking, the most intrusive thoughts are, the typical alcoholic thoughts. When am I going to get alcohol? How am I going to not run out?
Mm-hmm.
Like that. And even in early sobriety, I had a lot of those disturbing thoughts. And if any of you are in that early sobriety, first year or two maybe, some people it's longer, some people it's less, but that you get a lot of those thoughts then too. For me, it was that occasional craving. I didn't crave constantly when I got sober, but it was that occasional one. It was, what do I need to do to stay sober?
Mm-hmm.
And that was definitely dominating me. And I know it was for Marcus as well, especially when we were both in rehab. But it can be debilitating. And that's
Absolutely.
those thoughts are kind of they're basically on a level of OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was the when I was drinking, it was those obsessive fears that just caused me to be have these compulsive behaviors. And what I wanted to do was to relieve these fears. So I would drink, and I'd drink more, and then I'd have relief,
Mm-hmm.
maybe relief into the evening until I passed out or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Next day, wake up all hungover. The fears are even stronger. And then what did I want to do to relieve that? I wanted to drink. It's this circle. It's that
Mhm.
constant circle. We talk about it a lot, but that's what it was, is trying to find that relief. And as dependency would take over for me, um, then that relief would last less and less time, and until the end, when I'd get that initial, that of the drink,
Mhm.
but it wouldn't last very long at all. And then I'd have to drink more and more to continue to get that relief. And it just it didn't happen. Obviously, I'm sure many of you understand this. I'm sure you can relate to it. But
Yeah,
that's kind of how it affected me. And it's a difficult thing that we can talk about a little bit more on how I was able to get over that, and you too, Marcus. So yeah.
yeah, I think it's interesting because a lot of people don't realize that I personally believe that a lot of the problems in in our society and our sobriety have to do with the fact that we don't talk to one another. There's things that we have in our life, like with disturbing thoughts, where it's like we don't want to tell other people what those thoughts are like, but when we do, we find out like, hey, I'm not the only one. There's a lot of people with these thoughts. And I remember, yeah, I remember when we were sitting there in rehab, and there was a guy who was talking about how he put the beer cans under the grates in the barbecue. It was a gas barbecue with those little grates that fit over a 24 tall boy pretty easily. And I remember like, wow, that guy did that too. I thought I was the only person on the planet who did that. I thought I was the only person on the planet that hid bottles of booze in the sheetrock. Like, okay, well, I got to be the only one that did that. And then when it came to thoughts, you realize now that we have access to the internet, 100 years ago, 50 years ago, we didn't have this. But now we realize there's a lot of people struggling with the same things we do. And according to common knowledge, there's several different types of thoughts. There's harm-related thoughts, which if you ever have harm-related thoughts and you're worried about them, go seek help. They could be very harmful. That's why they're called harm-related thoughts. If you ever feel like harming yourself or others, go get some help. It is not worth sitting there alone. There are people who know how to deal with this. There are people that understand it. Same with detox. When you're detoxing from alcohol, look at that. And also realize when you have those harm related thoughts, realize that it is most likely, if you're an alcoholic or you're drinking heavily, it's the alcohol causing your thoughts to be that way. It's not reality. I confused reality when I was drinking with the drinking reality, and they're not the same. I mean, there's, all kinds of crazy stuff and things like that. And we have to understand how that works, and we have to understand exactly what is going on, like what is going on in our minds, in our life, and everything like that. Just make sure I'm on the right microphone. I think I am. Hopefully the audio is good. Harm-related thoughts, fear of accidentally causing harm. Like you're obsessing about things, like I do today still, but I laugh at myself and I, humor myself now, where it's like, oh, did I shut off the oven at the office? Did I turn this off? Did I forget that? It was really bad when I was smoking cigars. I thought I was going to light the entire state on fire with my lack of paying attention to my cigars and understanding like there's a lot of people who worry and struggle with these things. Terry, when you were getting sober, or even now, do you sometimes have harm-related thoughts, or was that something you dealt with?
No, no. Even when I was drinking, well,
Mhm.
when I was drinking, I did not have harm-related thoughts, but I did have the thought of I don't care.
Mhm.
So that was kind of, but that was when I was drinking. Since I've gotten sober, no, not at all. And that's one thing that's really important to understand, is some people have they'll have the OCD symptoms, or just those thoughts,
Mhm.
and their drinking problem as well. And those sometimes they both need to be treated
Yeah,
separately.
absolutely. And
And
I think it's important because we come from very different worlds. I think that oftentimes the pain from trauma causes people to have harm related thoughts, where it's like, okay, this is what I'm used to. This is what's normal. That's why you have people who inadvertently, subconsciously pick spouses that are gonna yell at them or give them whatever is familiar. It's subconscious. It kind of sucks. And, I go back and forth with my wife about this all the time. I'm like, I think it's God's cruel joke to make you attracted to what caused you pain. And I don't know why we're that way. It just is that way. And with harm-related thoughts, that was something, I still from time to time, I do have them, but I don't take them serious anymore. That's the difference. When you're taking them serious, get help, go understand things, and then come back and start working on your mind and start understanding that your thoughts are not reality. And they're not even that important. You have 60,000 thoughts a day. You're going to tell me they're all important? They're not. Which ones are important? I don't know, probably none of them. If I had to say what was the most important thought I had yesterday, I would say it was probably to come out with a video on ChatGPT because my other video bombed. There you go. I got one good thought, but I have those all the time. That's what I do all the time. And understanding we can relax and realize the mind is chemical impulses. It's chemical impulses in the brain. You have too much coffee, you're going to think anxiety-wise. You're going to think more anxious. Your thoughts are going to be more raced. If you drink, it's going to shut them off. I used to think I had to drink to shut off thoughts of harm-related stuff, when in reality it made it worse. It made it out of control to where, I was going down the path of actually doing something about it. And that's what happened when I got 5150'd, taken of my rights and put in a place where I couldn't harm myself. Some other thoughts that people struggle with is like sexual intrusive thoughts, where they think weird things about stuff and they think that defines them, and that's what they mean, that they are that. And our thoughts don't mean we are that. I know there's a Bible verse that causes all kinds of harm, and it says, as a man thinketh, so is he. And, there's a lot of meaning that you can put to that. I don't think it means if you think about apples all day, you're going to become an apple. I don't think that's what that means. However, a lot of people think that that's what happens. Your thoughts make your reality. Your thoughts make your fake reality, but your thoughts aren't going to change reality. If I go out there and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to go for a jog without a flashlight in the middle of the dark, it's not going to make it light. No matter how bright I think, it is not going to make it light out. It will not change reality. And when you have different intrusive thoughts, whether it's harm-related, sexually related, or whatever it is, realizing it's chemical impulses in the brain from your upbringing. Notice how Terry does not have harm-related thoughts. I still struggle with them today, even though I've been sober 10 and a half years. Why? Well, it's our response. It's what we grew up with. It's how our brain was formed and how our thoughts were made, and it's a conditioning. But the problem is nobody in school, like I missed the class, and I think they need a class that's like, here's how your freaking brain works. Here's how it works. And it's not reality. This is how chemicals work. Because we have all this education about addiction and drinking and things like that, but very little on the chemical dependency aspect. God forbid we blame the chemical for chemical dependency. I mean, that would be a travesty, right? But starting to understand that these thoughts are not what makes us us. These are simply chemical things. To put it in a very simple way, my dad, my family, my kids, all of us love movie quotes. We could talk to each other in movie quotes for a week and we would totally understand each other and we would laugh and have a good time. That's not something that I was born with, because most of the world was born before movies. So there goes that theory. It was something that was learned. My brain was wired to think, oh, that relates to this movie, that equals funny. Funny equals people like me. Keep being funny. It's the way it is. Or people that are people pleasers, right? Like myself, I am one of those that I just try to please everyone for whatever reason. Maybe it's fear, maybe it's whatever. But starting to realize that these are the things that we were brought up with. It doesn't mean something's wrong with us. It means there were wires that were connected, and that's what happened. If you have intrusive thoughts about religious, sexual, whatever it is, that is something that was conditioned. It's a product of our environment, like health anxiety, okay? Or let's do the religious one first. Religious or moral thoughts, like fear of committing a sin. I remember years ago, I was talking to someone who they were distraught. And they were like, I'm having a really hard time because I feel like I have these dreams and these thoughts about being with a religious figure. And it wasn't just any religious figure, it was like the religious figure. And the person was like, does that mean I'm bad? Does that mean something's wrong with me? At the time, I didn't know better. I wish I had given them better advice. My advice back then, being the religious person I was you need to pray about that and get rid of that sin. Now I'm like, you know what? There's literally 10 bazillion people who have the same thoughts. Like half the continent has those types of thoughts. And it doesn't mean anything. It's chemical wirings firing in the brain. That's all it is. And you'll find that oftentimes people with ADHD, people with racing thoughts, it will be different. I know that I had to come to grips at some point in my life that my brain works different than a lot of people, and that's not bad. Like sometimes I'll say stuff and people are, what the hell are you talking about? And it makes sense in my brain, like the wire's connected. But for them, and I notice also one of the things that I have trouble with is facial recognition. And I'll be like, oh, isn't that actor, this guy that was on that? And she's like, that doesn't even look like that person. What's wrong with you? But it is something that I notice. And it is, to most people, that person does not look like that person. To me, it does. Let me explain. The way that my brain was wired, I came from, we had abuse in my house, worse than some, not as bad as others. It was enough to do damage, let's say that. And it did good damage. And it's so much to where I could look at someone and get anxious just by looking at their face, and I don't know why. It doesn't look like someone. It's a smile, a tweak, a turn of the eyebrow, something that will trigger that. And it's not conscious. It's completely unconscious. And when I was drinking and before I got sober, I used to think, oh my gosh, that's anxiety. What do I do about it? And now I realize, hey, it's chemical impulse firing. It's my brain trying to protect me from perceived harm. Doesn't mean anything. It just is what it is. And the sooner we realize that, hey, these thoughts they don't make us who we are. Contrary to popular belief and law of attraction stuff, right? They don't make anything. Another one is health anxiety. I don't know if you deal with this one, Terry. This is one that I noticed it ramped up after my dad passed. He dealt with a very, very obvious cancer. It was like, okay, yeah, I see it. I see what he's going through. I went to the doctors with him, and I am by nature an absolute germaphobe. Don't like germs, don't like anything like that. I literally, yeah, it's bad. And I laugh at it now. I'm like, whatever. That's just the way my brain works. But health anxiety is one where, I'll get something in my mouth. I'll be like, oh, what is that? Better go to the doctor. And then, $1,000 later, because I have to see the doctor today, because tomorrow won't work, right? I'll go to the doctor. And he's like, nothing's wrong with you, just, whatever. But what you'll learn is that with health anxiety and other thoughts, there's little things that will help you through it. Like for me, I talk to other people. Hey, I got this sore, this thing. And, my daughter will come in and be like, yeah, that happens to me every time I drink soda. I'm like, okay, well, maybe I should not drink soda. There you go, problem solved, and it does go away. But yeah, I think this is a big one. Do you ever deal with health anxiety?
No.
No?
No, I think so. Sure, yeah. I mean, if I've got something that's bugging me and it continues on, yeah, absolutely. I'm not so obsessive where I'm actually kind of opposite for doctors. I will just it'll get better, and then it doesn't get better. It'll get better, and I just don't even go to the doctor. So I guess it's kind of opposite, but I will try to do many things to alleviate the problem. And of course, I'm like everybody else. WebMD. Oh yeah, they're the doctor for me. I'm gonna look
I
it up
can't do that. I can't do
and
that.
try and figure it out. Yeah. But let me give a quick congrats to Corvette, 15 days. That's awesome. And no more care, 178 days sober. Congratulations, man. And Wegovy, I thought that have heard of it. It's from what I understand, it's mainly used for weight loss, but I don't know. Not a doctor, so I don't know. But congratulations if it's helping you. Great. And Dave agrees. He was saying that he was in rehab 28 days and that he just they barely mentioned the chemical addiction aspect. They did talk about it a bit in our rehab, but I just think that people don't talk about it enough.
Yeah.
They talk about it as how it's a moral issue and things like that, and it's not. It's chemical addiction,
Mhm.
and then maybe those moral issues happen because of the addiction. But yeah, and as far as the health goes, well, I tell you, when I was drinking, I was definitely not healthy, and I cared as far as how other people saw me when I was looking very unhealthy. But other than that, personally, for me, I did not care.
Yeah. No, that's when I was drinking, I would care about health stuff that was like immediate. Like I went to the doctor when I broke my finger because I punched a wall. Of course, you have thousands of feet of wall, and I hit the stud. Go figure.
Well, every
Or
16 inches.
there you go. Yeah. I think this house just had one where I punched it. Just have one stud.
Nice.
Um, and I would go to the doctor when those things happened. I would say that it got worse now. So, like, will the intrusive thoughts go away? Well, yes and no. Do they go away? Not if you're trying to make them go away, which is what most people do. What do we do with anxiety? We try to make it go away instead of just sitting with it and being like, okay, that's what I got. There it is. One of the things that helps me, I know JM says he hates health anxiety. I had a ablation when he was 16. His heart would race, and now I'm 40, and I have episodes sometimes, and I think I'm going to die. Doctor said I'm fine. One of the things that I do is I'll get something, and I'll be like, okay. And I remember what people say, and obviously this isn't medical advice or anything. This is just what gets me through the day when I have difficult times. When I have something, one, I have made it to where I don't allow myself to Google symptoms because Google's like, it's the worst for doctor stuff ever because it's like, oh, that's probably the worst.
Well,
And it's like,
they're trying to be responsible, so they tell you the worst possible explanation so that they cover their bases.
and with my health anxiety, that's what I have. It's the worst one. And I have to tell myself, well, if what I think is true, if my health anxiety is true, I'm a goner. Like if that's true, because my health anxiety, it does not chill. It's like, hey, you have, a headache. You probably have tumors and all this stuff in your head, and it'll just race. And I'm like, okay, if that's true, I'm a goner. It doesn't matter what I do, so I'm probably fine. And those are little things that I try to tell myself to get through the day when I have that. And I think that is something, I think we need to learn to laugh at our thoughts once in a while. And I think the problem is everyone's taking ourselves too damn seriously. Like
Yeah,
I'm
that's
some
in
captain.
AA they call that Rule 62. Don't take yourself too damn seriously.
There you go. I like Rule 62. Nickelodeon says I was fairly carefree until alcohol became a problem because alcohol caused its own anxiety. Sober now and anxiety levels are normal.
Yeah.
And that's what happened with me. Like I remember when I was drinking, my therapist told me I had anxiety, and then it was like off the charts. I'm like, oh my God, it's everywhere. Before that, I was like, I don't know, I'm like wiggly and jittery. Big deal. But then when they named it, then it was a big thing. And I think, it's the naming of things. It's the taking of the thoughts seriously. It's really looking at that. Some other intrusive thoughts and disturbing thoughts could be relationship. Like, do I love this person? Do I not love that person? Am I going to be faithful, or is she or he being faithful? Overthinking whether your relationship is meant to be. One of the things that changed my life completely is realizing that we're like big ants. Like you look at the ants and you're like, yeah, they don't know where they're going. They don't know what they're doing. They don't even have a book. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much me. I do have a book, but good luck if I know what it says. And we think that we have it all planned out and that everything's the way it is. But the sooner we realize that everyone on planet Earth is winging it, the sooner things get better, right? Because you look at politics and it's like, oh, that guy should have it all figured out. Well, nobody has it figured out. Like 5 years ago, they didn't know AI was going to do what it does today. Therefore, they're kind of winging it. Like, oh, well, okay, don't let it do that. Oh, hey, do this. Or when cars came out, Terry will probably remember this a little bit better than me. I think he got, like 7 years on me or something. I don't know. Do you remember when they had cars that were so stiff to keep us safe that they were more dangerous than a car that crumples?
Oh yeah,
And it
the
was like,
'70s.
yeah, you got to make them rigid. And you would go hit the spin, and it's like, okay, well, the car's fine, but everyone in it is not. And then they had to adjust and adapt because they didn't know what was going to happen. When Henry Ford made the Model A or whatever the first one was, he didn't think about airbags and crashes. He was like, we're just going to go places. It only goes 30. What's the worst that can happen? You push the brake pedal. Now we live in a world where, you have to have all these things. And when we realize, hey, we're all just winging it, we're all just making it through, that really helps. Some people deal with existential thoughts, obsessing over the meaning of life or one's existence. Like people that are like, I need to find meaning. I need to be somebody. And it's like, to what end? I mean, my grandpa really never, like, not that many people knew him. He wasn't the pinnacle of business. He did some cool things. He made some mistakes, and he lived an okay life. Did he need to find meaning? Is there more meaning than that? And what does meaning even mean? Right? Once we realize, like, we're striving for these things that may not be what we think they are. Another one, like worries about death, worries about what happens after death, panic attacks, things like that, can get really out of hand. But again, realizing, I mean, sometimes someone I'm very close to has panic attacks often. And when she has them, I'm like, hey, it's not real. Every panic attack you've ever had, you've gotten through. Every single one of them. And then that teaches her, hey, this one's not that bad. I'll be okay.
That's one thing that's real important to look at is, look back on your life. You've made it this far.
Mm-hmm.
You've been successful at those things.
Yep.
So yeah, it's important.
Yep. One of them was I made it through rehab. I lived with 30 drug addicts for 30 days.
Yeah.
I didn't even have my own room. The bathroom was shared with like 15 people, but luckily
Oh.
they put me on like the clean people floor where the girls were. I was like, yay, thank you.
I didn't get to go there till later.
So that was good. I was like, first day, they're like, nah, you're going up here. Which was good. I thank them for that. It's probably because like it was a little rowdy downstairs. I was like, I don't do rowdy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, realizing that, I'm like, okay, well, I lived in that environment.
That's one of the factors, definitely,
Mm-hmm.
is looking back. Look at your history.
Yeah.
And I've been through a lot in my life, and even in sobriety, and I've still survived and I've made it. So that's one thing that can help with the anxiety. But there's other things too, definitely, that I use in my life. I really don't have a lot of anxiety in my life. Sure, it is there. I do absolutely worry about things, but things like the politics. Yeah, I have some very strong opinions. However, there's not really much I can do about it. I can vote. That's it.
Yeah.
Complaining on Facebook, that would just make me more anxious. Just scroll right past all the friends that complain about everything or whatever.
Yeah.
I ignore it. It's okay. I can only do so much. Same thing in life, financial issues. I can do what I can do. That's it. That's all I can do.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest anxiety would be for family members, other people that I love, that I don't have control over what's going to happen to them or what they're doing. That there can be anxiety there, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I can be there for them, and that's all I can do. So I have to let it go. So for me, keeping those obsessive compulsive thoughts down, it comes down to being able to let go being
Mhm.
able to understand that I just do not have that much control. So why worry about it? You
Yeah.
mentioned death. Okay, well, it's going to happen.
Can't really do
Hope it
much
doesn't
about it.
happen soon.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah. Not
Yeah.
much you can do about it. And
Yeah.
also, like, realizing that we're very small in this world. Like,
Yeah.
I know we think, oh, wow, that guy is so important. To who? To the people who think he's important. One of the things I learned inadvertently was that life is made up of agreements. What we agree is usually what people think is true. We agree, like money. People get all flipped out about money. Money is a man made thing. Oh, there's not enough money. We're not going to have enough food. No, food grows on trees. And literally, like you get the fruit off the tree, throw it in the dirt, it's going to grow another fruit. It has nothing to do with money. And I remember one time I was arguing with my brother about that. And he's like, but where do they get the seeds without money? And I'm like, they came out of the dirt. Like they literally were just in the dirt. It's like, it's what it does. Cows make more cows if you're into eating cows. But, you look at all this stuff and it's like, it's all agreements. It's all us trying to control things. And that's another one, perfectionism driven thoughts, fear of making mistakes. That's one. I don't know, like I do videos online for a living, and I always have this fear that like somehow there's going to be something I don't want in the video, even though I didn't film it. Like somehow, oh, you know what, that video, it's going to be me, I forgot my pants or something. It's like, no, you got your pants. I don't know what you're thinking here. And there's always this fear like, oh, where's that clip or where's that thing? And it's just OCD. I have to laugh at myself and be like, hey, you know what? That's what happens. Now, the question is another one was obsessing over symmetry and order, specific rituals, cleanliness, fear of being judged for not being good enough. That's a big one. I know a lot of people in my life that are like, am I good enough? And I'm like, good enough for what? Right? There's always going to be someone not as good, and there's always going to be someone better. It's how we learn. That's how we know we grew, and that's how we have a goal to attain. But you have to say, good enough for who? Good enough for who? Like right now, am I good enough? Well, I'm doing what I do. Can I do more? Probably. It would probably mean like not going to sleep, which would cause all the stress and anxiety, which wouldn't be good. So I'm just going to be okay. I remember before I got sober, I thought the world was in such a rush. Like, I have no time. Then when I got sober, I was like, I kind of have all the time in the world if I
Yeah.
just sit in the time. But if I'm future tripping or thinking about the past, then yeah, I'm not going to have time because I'm not existing in time. I'm existing in before and after. Um, these thoughts occur because stress and anxiety, they will get higher with stress and anxiety. OCD, trauma, mental fatigue, which I would dare say alcohol causes three and a half of those. Like the only one it doesn't really cause, but it kind of does, is trauma. Right? Mental fatigue caused by alcohol. OCD caused by alcohol. Stress and anxiety caused by alcohol. Like when we drink, we don't do anything. We ruin our lives. That causes stress and anxiety. We take everything seriously. That causes stress and anxiety. And the coping with them, one, don't drink because if you drink, you're hosed. You have no control of your thoughts. What happens is drinking takes you from above your thoughts to in them, right? If I can be above my thoughts and be like, I'm human, I have thoughts. Chemical makes them different. Lack of sleep, like, if you have a lack of sleep, it will change the way you think. And I acknowledge that now. Before I didn't. I was like, what's wrong with me? Something's wrong with me today. I better go drink and make it worse. Okay, yeah, that's real smart. But understanding, like, when I drink, I get in the thought. That's why spouses have fights or significant others have fights when they drink. Or you go to the bar and have a fight. I can't tell you how many bar fights I got out of. Luckily, people find me funny. But if I wasn't funny, I probably would have gotten my butt kicked quite a bit. But, you get in the fight because I'm right and you're wrong. It's like the kid on the schoolyard. It's like, hey, that guy called me a girl, and I'm not a girl. It's like, well, who cares? He can call me an elephant. Doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't matter. He can think whatever he wants. But the problem is when we drink, we get in those thoughts and them become fighting words. And now we're going to fight over it when really it doesn't mean anything. A guy at the bar can call me whatever he wants. He's probably drunk. He probably doesn't even know what he's talking about. I'm just waiting for my takeout, not drinking. So, you know, there you go. But those are things to look at and understand. Avoid suppressing your thoughts. When you try to suppress them, it makes it worse all the time. When you try to get rid of anxiety, it comes back. It's so worse. It's unmanageable when you try to suppress it. But if you acknowledge it and you're like, you know, I got these thoughts. Yeah, I remember, you know, when I was a kid, I thought this way, and now it's here, and sometimes it comes back. Going to therapy, mindfulness, professional help if you think your thoughts are difficult or harmful. Always go to seek professional help if you think you're going to harm yourself or others. And number one, like if these things bother you, trying to suppress them with drinking is making it worse. I know a lot of people are like, oh, when you drink, you're kicking the can down the road. No, you're not. You're blowing it up in your face is what you're doing, because it makes it completely unmanageable. And I can't even tell you how fast it happened. You know, I was going along, I would have a good day, I'd drink, and all of a sudden, boom. And I can see it now. Now that I don't drink, I'll see the thought turn. I'll be like, I didn't sleep, there's stress, there's things going on, and it'll turn. And I'll have this thought in my brain that says, God, if I drank right now, this would be so fucked. And it's true. Because you could see it happen. I could say, now, hey, I could walk away. Back then, I didn't have the ability to walk away from the drink. Now I do. And I'm glad I do, because I probably wouldn't be here today if I didn't.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, Terry?
Yeah. Just the fact of stopping drinking, that's going to take care of a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I found. I mean, sure, like I said in the beginning, I did have some obsessive thoughts when I first got sober, but that was mainly due to the fear that I was going to start drinking again. Mm-hmm. And just the act of stopping drinking got rid of pretty much all those obsessive, compulsive thoughts. And that's the number one thing. After that, when I got sober, it was all about trying to change the way I look at things. That's what our program does, is we try to help you change the way you're looking at life, looking at alcohol. And for me, it started off with gratitude, that I was just thankful I didn't need a drink anymore. Mm-hmm. And then it blossomed from there. And I started to develop a new way to live. And Absolutely. That's what works for me.
Yep, and that is all in the program we have over at talksober.com. We have these fancy new cups that we made, which you can get one. You go and put your sobriety date in, and you'll get a custom cup.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. We got to show Terry's. There you go, Terry. You can show yours now.
Oh, yeah. 10 years.
Excellent. Let's make it big. Let's see here. There it is. There you go. There it is.
Oh, I'm not holding it right. Okay. There we go. Anyways.
But yeah, these are mugs you can get. And it doesn't matter how many days sober you are. It's kind of like a commitment, like, hey, you know what? I'm going to get and stay sober. That's what I'm going to do. And every day you'll see it there and be like, maybe I shouldn't put, booze in that. But we actually created a sobriety calculator over here. I'll give you the link in just a minute. What you can do is you can put your name. So let's say Marcus. And then my sobriety date, I think, was 5/24 or 27. I don't remember the exact date. Something like that. Let's call it 27. And then you hit calculate. And what will happen is this will keep track of your sobriety date. And you can come back here and it'll add it up. So if I come back here next year, it'll say 11 years, 5 months, and however many days that would be. I think about 4,300 days, something like that. And then what you can do is right now for our Black Friday sale, if you want to join and get the MP3s, MP4s, PDFs, and the entire sobriety program that we've put together, it's super cheap. When we set out to make this, we didn't want to make it for executives that only paid $1,000 a month like a lot of other programs. We wanted to make it for the average person. It's less than $1 a day. And in order to get you in there for Black Friday, what we're going to do is we're going to give you one of these mugs. So all you got to do is go there, put your sobriety date in, right like this, and then you'll click on Join Talk Sober and get your free mug, and it'll take you over to the place where you can sign up. It's actually really cool. I think we need to fix the link there. But it'll actually go through and you can order a mug, and it'll have, if you want your name on it, you can put your name on it. What we're doing is we're doing it manually right now. So you would just go to talksober.com, and you can click the button. You can even share this on your Facebook. Like if you want to show people that you've been sober, just hit take screenshot. It'll download the image. You could put it on your Facebook and be like, hey guys, I'm getting sober, which is a great way to share and get accountability. You can even share it in our Facebook group over here at talksober.com, and it'll keep this top of mind for you. And it'll also, you know, if you relapse, you click relapse, it'll reset it and give you some tools on how to stay sober and things like that. Also, if you click on the yellow button and sign up for the recovery class, just Terry will reach out to you via email, and we'll get your information for the mug. We'll ship it out to you. No extra cost. You just sign up and we'll get that out to you as a bonus for signing up, which is really cool. So talksober.com, you can use the sobriety date thing there. I think this button works. Yes, that button does work. So the one on the homepage does work. It's just weird for mobile. Looks weird. But that's what we got there, and it'll keep track of your sobriety. And it's something that you can go back to day in and day out, where it's like, hey, check it out. I can track my sobriety and get little tools. We're going to build onto it as well for people that are less than 90 days, people that are a year or whatever. You can get that, and then bada bing, there you go, which is pretty cool. So hop on over to talksober.com, get your mug, and if you guys got any questions or comments or anything like that, let us know in the comments there, and we'll take it from there.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you in the next call next week.